So, the journey through Lent to Easter is our story of going through darkness and struggle and pain, the desert, and coming out the other end, holding fast to God, resurrected. This is not, it's a hope because it's in the future, but it's a guarantee, it's a certainty. Those you have lost have gone back to God. They are not dead. They are not dead. This is our certain hope. Is this not important stuff? It's more important than the stuff we spend a lot of our focus and energy on. So it's great as you prepare for your child's first Eucharist to be able to have some time to say, well, wait a second here, let's recalibrate, let's reflect here, let's stop and maybe tweak a little bit, or a lot, how we're doing this thing called us. Because I do think we're so much hamsters on the treadmill today that we're not getting a lot of time to be reflective people. We're not stopping and pausing and doing check-ins. We're just doing the next thing. And that can be exhausting. That can be dangerous. We can find ourselves, we could wake up one day and say, how the heck did we get here? Whether it's in a marriage relationship or parent-child relationship or relationship with God, how did we get here? Well, we didn't stop to check in along the way and say, oh, whoa, wait a second here. We got to back this up. We got to course correct because this is not who we want to be. This is not who I want to be. So living lives on the hamster wheel without ever getting off can be destructive. And then, we're farther off course. And how do we pull it back? Well, in God, there's always, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. This can be the day of renewal. This can be the day of course correction, small and big. So, you had some very good insights on our scripture passage, the Emmaus story. It's the day of Easter, and Jesus is now showing up on the scene with these two people who are walking. They were disciples of Jesus, and they believed in him. They bet the ranch on him. Have you ever bet the ranch on anything or anyone? Like, put all your hope. Sometimes we put all our hope in another person, or a job, or money, or whatever. Well, in this case, they put it all right there on the roulette table, stacked it high on Jesus, and he got executed. And they're going home to their hometown, miles away from Jerusalem, in despair, in darkness. Have you ever been there? In despair, in darkness, and it's just all black. And we're just going to go home and try to pull it back together and figure it out. And Jesus comes upon these two people in that state of darkness and confusion. And he walks with them. And as they walk, and as he opens up the good news of God in human history up to that point, what happens to them? Their hearts start to, did you hear the word? Burn. Their hearts start to burn. There's a pilot light that's been reignited in them. So much so that by the time they get to the motel where they're going to bunk for the night and have their meal, Jesus is going to duck out and they say, no, please, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Stay for the night. And he does, and he takes the bread from the backpack and he blesses it and breaks it and gives it. Now this is the fourfold movement that we hear also in Luke's Gospel at the Last Supper. Okay? This is from Luke's Gospel. What Luke is saying here is what Jesus did, those four things of take and bless and break and give, happens here. He's saying to the reader, this is Eucharist. This is as much Eucharist as what happened at the Last Supper. So a little hint there. This is Eucharist. So Jesus gives them, this is the second Eucharist. First was the Last Supper. And he gives it to them, and then their eyes are opened. They didn't recognize him till this moment. What is Luke telling his community in 75 AD and telling us today? What is he saying about this? He's saying that Jesus comes and walks with us on the journey of life. And he brings light and hope and joy to our lives in the good news of God's love told in the Scriptures. And then we come to the table. If we were at Mass, we're going to be at church, but there's a funeral, so we're here. But we could pretend this is the altar. Then we turn to the altar where Jesus then feeds us. And the Eucharist has the power to open our eyes to recognize grace, beauty in our lives, in our world, and to be filled with such energy and joy that we can't wait until morning to share the good news we've just received. Have you ever had news that was so good that you couldn't wait till morning? It's midnight. It's 3 in the morning, and you have to call them and tell them or wake them up. That's what it's like knowing and experiencing Jesus, is what Luke is telling us. They were attracted to him from the start, and their hearts start to burn. And then, when their eyes are open at the taking of the Eucharist, they have to get up and retrace their steps now. Because they got to go back to Jerusalem and say, he's alive. We've met him. He was with us. I think the bottom line here is that Luke is saying to experience Jesus, and we do in word and sacrament at Mass, in word on the road and at the table at the motel, word and sacrament, word and bread of life, we are filled with such joy that we have to share it. We have to go and tell others. So the question I have for you is, do you feel that way about your relationship with Jesus? That you know him so intimately, and he's such a source of life and joy to you that you can't contain it. You've got to share what you have with others. I think another piece here is that Jesus vanishes at the moment they take the Eucharist and their eyes are open, they see it's Jesus, and then poof, he's gone. What's the deal with the magic trick there? What is that? My interpretation is that Luke is saying Jesus doesn't need to hang with us and hold our hands anymore because we have him. In word and sacrament at Mass, we have him. We have him. He is here with us. So he can go be about his Father's business elsewhere. He can go to the Father in heaven. He has left us a legacy that is powerful and real that we get to experience and partake of at Mass.
And in our faith, we know he's always there.
He's always there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is a beautiful story, and in the handout you're going to get, there's a little bit of it, and then go find it at the end of Luke's Gospel. This is an Easter reading that is beautiful and something you could sit with and do your own little retreating on, the Road to Emmaus story.